Well, I promise you this, as governor, I will do everything in my power, to make sure that parents' rights and religious freedom are brought back and we have control of our kids, not the school.
Thank you.
Right. So I wanted to say hi, thank you for talking with me today.
Sure.
You know, we have been dealing with some issues here in the state of Maine, and you're very involved in religious freedom, parental choice. You have children of your own, you force, maybe luckily, homeschool, all right? But probably forge a much better relationship between you and your kids. I think that's what I see with all homeschool kids. You know, we've had a lot of kids in the state of Maine that were, homeschooling has gone from 2 or 3% to 6 to 7%. So there's a big move there where people don't want to keep their kids in school. So why don't you tell me a little bit who you are, and how you ended up here, and what's important to you.
So I am Heather, and I am a native Mainer, born and raised here. I left when I was 19 or 20 years old to go and pursue my dreams. I made a career in New York and internationally singing opera. And then I did what Maine has always told us to do, was to, go out, make your career, and then come back home to raise your family.
Right.
So that's exactly what I did. So when I decided to have children, I moved back home. I left New York City and moved back home to raise my children.
Yeah.
And then when they were in grade school, back in 2019, the Maine became one of only 4 states in the nation to mandate vaccines in order to be eligible for access to education.
Right.
To access taxpayer-funded education. And so my children were kicked out of school, in grade school.
What grade?
4th and 5th grade.
Yeah.
And so I am their sole parent. I'm a single mother, sole provider for my family. And so at that point, I took on a second job in order to make everything work and homeschool and work 2 jobs. And that's what I've been doing since then.
Yeah, so up until 4th or 5th grade, everything was fine, right? Kids were fine, nobody had any issues, and all of a sudden they mandated this, and then the world changed, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, for 200 years, Maine allowed religious exemptions to vaccination requirements. People get confused by that a lot because they say, "Oh, we've always had vaccination requirements." It's never been mandated until this point,
right.
And there are only 4 states that mandate it.
Right.
So it's a big deal, and it's people don't realize the nuances of it. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area, and a lot of people are impacted.
As governor, I would definitely bring back religious choice, right? I think it's parental rights are number one. I think you know more than anybody else what's good for your children, and it's not like you want to see your children compromised in any way. And the thing that doesn't make sense to me is that, if all these other kids are vaccinated and there's something wrong with one of the other kids, if the vaccinations work, what's the worry?
Well, I am with you on that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that children are in the community.
Right.
They're at the library, they're at the supermarket, they're at the sporting events, they're with other children all the time.
All the time.
The only thing that kicking them out of school accomplishes is to isolate them and segregate them.
Well, what do you think the reason is that they want to have these mandates?
I don't know if I really know that, but I saw it coming. I saw the rumblings of it. It's, I lived in New York City for a long time.
Right.
It started in New York.
Yeah.
It's not motivated by health. I can tell you that.
Right.
It's a political agenda, is what it is.
Well, definitely. So I believe it's another control mechanism, right?
It is. And what people don't realize is that once we allow mandated vaccines, there's a list of the vaccines that are mandated. Once you allow it to be mandated, that list is no longer in your control.
Right.
So there's, children today get 74 doses of vaccines by the time they're 18 years old in order to be considered fully vaccinated.
And what's in those vaccinations?
Well, and what's in them, and I believe vaccines should be available for those who believe in them and who want them. That's fine. I believe in personal medical freedom and religious freedom, because another thing that's not talked about is there are a lot of people find vaccines objectionable because they are made utilizing human aborted fetal tissue.
Amen. So they're anti-abortion, and they're being forced to put this.
That's right.
These remnants into their body.
That's right. And animal products.
Right.
So it's a lot, and I don't believe any of us want to live in a country where medical devices or injections are I
don't think we should mandate our behaviors either. I mean, I'm a
right.
freedom guy. I've always been a freedom guy. I know what's best for me. I'd say you are what you eat. You are who you associate with. Your children are a result of being raised at the dinner table and having the conversations with the parents and having the influence of the parents. The problem we have here in the United States is only 18% of the families are nuclear. It's a big problem. I mean, so they don't have two-parent homes, and your case, you've handled it right. Mm-hmm. But there are people who don't handle it right.
That's right.
And so you have a lot of latchkey situations, and and that's all pressure of taxes and having to be able to make a certain amount of money in order to live and pay your bills and pay your property taxes, which are in Maine have soared.
It has soared, quadrupled. I mean, it's not sustainable. It's crazy.
Well, and what's the money going to? Public schools.
Well, I'll tell you, but they're not public schools, because public schools means that they're equally accessible for all children. They're no longer public schools if all children don't have access to them.
And they're accepting federal funds.
That's right. Should schools be taxpayer funded if they're not available
allowing
to all children?
To go. Yeah, right. Exactly right. That's right. I mean, the whole I was on the president's Republican National Platform Committee, and it was 12 pages that we all worked on, and it was amazing when to go through and sit there and see how the sausage is made, right? And when we got to the part of this, it said it was called Common Sense, and modeled after Thomas Paine's Common Sense, right? And it was 12 pages, and when we got down to this, the Department of Education. This is what we're going to do, eliminate the Department of Education, and this is how we're going to do it. Where do I sign? Right? I mean, there was 4,400 jobs that were just sucking money out of the taxpayers, and not to mention how with all the additional money was spent outside of that Department of Education. So they're systematically breaking it down now.
Well, I'll tell you, I was forced to homeschool. And ultimately, I've realized that it was actually a gift.
That's what I said. Luckily,
because if somebody restores, medical freedom, I wouldn't send my children back to school now.
And why is that?
Because it's no longer about the children. It's about a political agenda.
Yeah.
The public schools have failed our children. And also because I know, since homeschooling my children since 2019, I know who they are now. And I know they wouldn't be that if they were in these schools. They would be different people.
Well, I mean, it's indoctrination.
It is indoctrination.
And the DEI, the SEL, and the CRT, it's just got to go. I mean, I've seen the result of it, and it's sad. You walk through the halls of schools and they have, gay pride flags in kindergarten classes. They have rainbows. They got posters of different kinds of love. And you look.
Which is not, people should do what they want to do in their own homes and in their own lives, but that's not a place for it.
No, it's a place of learning, right? Not indoctrination.
That's right.
I have 6 kids of my own, and I have 8 grandkids, and so biggest motivator for me is to make sure that I can make those changes that get us back to
Yes.
what reality. I mean,
That's right.
these things have to stop. And there was in the Fallon schools, they were stopping to say the Pledge of Allegiance to America. I went there, spoke, and they're doing it again. All right.
The biggest, you were talking about the importance of family and sitting around the dinner table. The biggest roadblock to that is the radical idea that when our children turn 5 years old, that we ship them off to strangers to raise them for the majority of their lives.
Yeah.
Think of that.
Yeah.
they're spending more time in
school
than
than
they
they
are
are
around the dinner
Yeah,
table.
exactly right. And and if with homeschooling you have that opportunity to have that one-on-one
For sure.
and they get to know who you are.
That's right. And it's hard. I'm a sole
It's gotta be really
parent,
hard.
a sole provider, a sole parent,
Yeah.
working 2 jobs and homeschooling multiple age children. It's hard, but you
Yeah.
know what? It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's
definitely no pain, no gain. Right?
That's
That's what we say in bodybuilding,
that's
right? But yeah, there's no pain, no gain. And if you spend that time and you put in you get what you give. Right? The more you give to those children, that's a responsibility having children.
But imagine if homeschooling families had any resources of support. Imagine all the money that goes into these public schools.
It's horrible.
We homeschool, we pay for everything ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm forced to homeschool, and every year I'm forced to pay for an annual review to send to my government.
Yeah. Why? Right.
And I'm forced to pay tax dollars for schools that my children are not allowed to go to.
Yeah, it's sad. Did you during COVID? What did you think of the lockdown in COVID?
I thought it was a beautiful time for us. I had pulled my children out before that,
Right.
and then I was working from home, and it was like the light had shined down on us. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, the lockdowns I think are crazy. I mean, but that's a whole other matter, But it was an eye-opening time, certainly.
Well, I didn't get the vaccination. I refused to do it. Yeah.
I didn't either.
Okay. Kudos.
During that time when I had recently been forced to, homeschool,
Right.
I was at risk for losing my job because I was not taking the COVID vaccine. Imagine what that was like.
Oh, I heard it.
I mean, it was days away.
Healthcare professionals were being forced to do it. There was a woman who used to come on a radio show that I co-host, and she got the vaccination. She was forced to do it, and 10 days later she was dead.
I've seen so many.
I've seen so many,
like
myocarditis,
Yes.
right? Big thing with people. My wife's best friend, never sick a day of her life, got the shot. And her husband found her dead, face down in the driveway. I mean, these things happen, and you can't ignore them, and they do ignore them, and they don't report on them. We had this guy Nirav Shah, right? They call him Dr. Nirav Shah. He's a lawyer, but he's not of my world. Right?
Mine either.
Well, what's your opinion of boys and girls sports?
Well, I believe that the purpose of having boys and girls sports are to make it fair.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, why not just have everything co-ed?
Yeah.
Because, why do we have Special Olympics?
Yeah.
To make things fair.
Right.
I can't identify as somebody who needs special care and join the Special Olympics. Would that be fair? Would anyone want that?
No. I mean, the whole idea that boys and girls sports were allowed, and I don't know if you heard or not, but they're squashing the petition.
I just read that. Yeah.
And that's sad. I mean,
it's sad for many generations and a lot of people.
This guy Nirav Shah has applauded that.
Of course he has.
Right. I actually, by chance, I was flying from Florida to Maine. I went down to see my mom. She was failing health before she died. And this woman was sitting next to me. I just started talking to her. It was her daughter who was the one that did the pole vaulting at Greeley, who had been set aside by that kid who said he identified as a girl.
By that
took
boy.
the title, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I said, well, how do you feel? She says, well, I'm furious.
Of course.
I'm furious, right? My daughter, all her life, has practiced for an event, and then this kid steps in, and he, stole it from her, right?
I think it's shocking that is actually happening. I think we've lost all sense of reason.
In reality.
And reality.
Yeah, I'm out there all the time, all over the state, talking to people. That's the one thing that's, I think it's a 90-10 issue. And I ask people who are on that 10 side, like, okay, explain to me justify to me why, a 6'2" guy that says he's a girl should be allowed to be on the same track team as a 5'4" girl who's been competing and practicing her entire life, and they can't. Well, just because, right? It's not just because.
When you were growing up, how many boys competed in girls'
Well,
sports?
when I was growing up, there really weren't
Exactly,
girls'
that's
sports.
my point.
Right. The girls didn't have, and Title IX, it was actually created to benefit women. And girls,
and now we're just erasing them again.
Now, exactly. And where are the women's rights groups?
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
I mean, we didn't have. I think the only sport that the girls had was like a softball team or something when I grew up. But there was, there was no track. There was none of that stuff. It was, when I went to school, we had the Presidential Physical Fitness Award.
That's right.
I think
they're bringing that back.
President Trump's bringing it back. All right. What are your thoughts on Trump?
My thoughts on Trump. I think that he's getting a lot done that needed to be done, for sure. And I think that, it's a lot to think about, but I think that we need somebody who is not a politician. He's certainly, I don't think of him as a politician. I think that he sometimes is unpopular. He maybe speaks in an abrasive way.
Bombastic New Yorker,
That's right. He's a New Yorker, right? But I wonder if that's all. I can't imagine that it's not planned or intentional.
Well, my feelings for the guy is thank God. Right? I was chairman I created a super PAC called Make You Maine Great Again. It's 2016 to get him elected. We came 22,000 votes away from turning the state of Maine red. It was that close. Yeah. We can do it again. When I moved here 30 years ago, I moved here because Florida was turning blue. Now look at Florida.
Wow.
All right?
It's a difference, huh?
It's night and day, right? So now Florida's as red gets, and Maine is purple, at best. I don't know. I think we can turn this around. That's why I'm running. But I think it starts with good leadership and people that love our country, respect the rule of law, the United States Constitution, the Maine Constitution, individual rights, religious rights, parental rights, and forcing schools to teach. Right? Kids are our future.
That's right. Or finding an alternative to the schools that we have now, broadening the options, I would say.
Well, I'm all for charter schools. Right?
Yeah.
I'm all for school choice. I'm all for vouchers. Again, it's parental rights. And if you have a school that's found, unfortunately, when I moved here, Maine was in the top 5. Now we're in the bottom 5. I think we might even be 49th. It depends on what you look at.
Yeah.
And there's Mississippi was 50th in the country. Guess where they are today?
Where?
Number 1.
Really?
Yeah. They had this thing. It's called.
There's hope.
There is hope, and it's all leadership. That's what it
Yes.
boils down to. But they call it the Mississippi Miracle, and it just was accountability. The teachers were accountable, students were accountable, and so now they number one. Right? So you look at that and you say, there is hope, and it's leadership that did it. It's leadership that did it. We turned Florida around from when it was blue when I was there to where it is today with Ron DeSantis. Has really been, a great governor for the state of Florida. I hope I can be a great governor for the state of Maine and institute the Maine Miracle. Because I listen, the youth, that's our future. My kids are of the utmost importance to me. Everyone's kids are. I see them and I just look, it's funny how you look at all these kids and they remind you of the kids you grow up. They look like, they even look like some of the kids you grew up with. And you just see how they are. They are the future. And we're all interconnected. Maine's a state where people are separated by less than I say a half a degree. Maybe in New York it might be 6 degrees.
That's right.
But here it's a half a degree. Everybody's related to somebody and connected in some way, shape, or form.
I wish we could feel like we're connected again. That's what we need. We need leadership that's fair and leadership that hears the voice of the people. I don't think we have that.
It's supposed to be a representative form of government,
That's right. I think we've strayed from that.
I've joked, but I'm serious when I say it, that, people make all these promises that they're running for office, they get elected, they go up there to the State House, and then what do? They pump the gas into the chamber, and they get amnesia. They forget everything they did. They promised us.
That's right.
And they go down the path of whatever, and I look at it, and that's why I'm running, because I'm tired of lies. I'm tired of people who sit there and say, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then I say, oh, did I say that? Well, that's not what I meant, all right? So I just think we need people with principle, conviction.
With integrity, with, who are not bought.
Yeah.
Who are not part of a larger agenda that's powered by something that we can't see.
Yeah. Let me just turn this off here. Yeah, that'll do it. Just whoever it was didn't want to not answer the phone. You've got quite a storied history. You're an opera singer, right? And you're still you're getting back into it.
A little bit here and there, yeah.
I was telling you before, I have a sister-in-law who sings opera, and it's an amazing talent. But your best talent, I think, in life is, to me, it seems like your commitment to your children.
For sure. I accomplished some important things in my career. I sang all over the world, but being a mother to my children is my greatest accomplishment.
It's the toughest job in the world, being a parent, and so it's when you do it right and you look at the children, and they might get a little cocky once in a while.
It's especially tough though when there's no village. We don't have a village anymore. People are so separated and disconnected and fighting with each other. It's sad. This whole climate right now is just sad for all of us, regardless of where you sit on the issues. Right. We're divided.
Yeah, and as soon as someone hears that I'm Republican, they're of the other ilk, and can we have a conversation? Right? Ronald Reagan, Tip O'Neill used to have conversations all the time. They fought like cats and dogs during the day. They get a lot of good things done, and at night they go to dinner and have a drink together, right? That's what I long for. I think
for sure
that it's important that we have that dialogue. And if you have no dialogue, you have failure, and you're not doing your job.
We need to meet in the gray. Right. We're black or white now, and we all need to be in that gray a little bit more.
I think what we need to do is know right from wrong.
That's right.
Right.
And let people live their lives, and so we all can live the way that we want to live.
Don't legislate their behaviors. Don't tax them into oblivion. Do not make it so they can't spend time with their families because they have to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs in order to pay the bills and the taxes that you have to do. You know, pay the foods, the services, the electric, the energy bills are through the roof. I mean, so you know, Maine's at a point, I think, where if we don't nip it in the butt now, it's going to be hard to turn it around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard.
I think we're at the lowest that we've been in a
I
lot
think
of
we've
ways.
reached that tipping point,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because you know the volatility amongst people. You know, I've been to some of these No Kings rallies and just talked to people, and they get violent.
Right.
You know, I had a guy come up, blow a whistle right in my face. I mean, my ears were ringing. I know what I wanted to do, but
Right.
but I couldn't. I just told him to step back in the Dave Jones way. But the idea that someone would feel as though they could do that to me, right? And
People are suffering. That shows us how much people are suffering.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it is. If it's it's not illegal to be crazy, right?
Right.
So we have I think it's a lot of public display of mental illness. I don't know why it's so rampant and so spread. I don't know what the answer is for that. I look at it and the Trump derangement syndrome is real. No matter what anyone says, it's real. I've seen people just, go from, a normal conversation and you mention Trump and they go ballistic.
I think it's because we here in Maine had a community. I was born and raised here. I left when I was 19 or 20 years old.
What town?
Westbrook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I left when I was 19 or 20. I went off. I pursued my dreams. I lived in New York and abroad for 25 years and came back. It's unrecognizable.
Yeah.
We used to have a community, and I think that's because our community is divided by outside influences. That's the point. A lot of this is driven by things that I don't think we are seeing what is actually happening.
What do you think the media's role is in all this?
I think that I don't think it's always fair. And I think it also divides people more.
Yeah. I mean, the Tim Russert days, or Huntley Brinkley report, and people like that you never knew what their political persuasion was.
Right.
They just reported the news.
That's right.
I've met some journalists here that for whatever reason that supposedly on the other side, you have a conversation with them, they're pretty fair with me. I don't know why. I mean, maybe I just make sense and I'm relatable, but I think we have to develop that rapport, and I think we have to make them recognize the importance of what they do and how relative it is that they to the people and to the behavior of the people they're reporting is. It's kind of sad to see that spike in it. Like on both sides. I mean, it's like it's not like one side's. Everyone's fueling the fire, but I think we have to stop.
I do too.
Right? And today you meeting with me is pleasure. I like meeting with people that love their family and love our state and understand what's right and what's wrong. And I mean, is there anything that you'd like to add that you think is?
Well, I think that we are all different and we all have different things that are important to us.
Yeah.
And we should all be allowed to live within our own sense of right and wrong in our own way. We should be able to have our families the way that we want them.
Right.
I should be able to raise my children in the way that I know is right for me. That's my personal choice. I don't want to co-parent with the government.
No.
Thank you, but no.
Right, exactly. The schools are requiring these vaccinations. Obviously, your kids are not allowed to go to the school because of it, but they're requiring a lot of vaccinations, and in many cases.
Well, right now, that's something that people aren't talking about. Is here in Maine, the schools, the government are requiring vaccines that are not recommended by the CDC right now. The CDC recommended 74 doses by age 18. The current administration has changed those recommendations and pared them back a lot. But here in Maine, they're still requiring the vaccines that are not recommended by the CDC.
How many?
I don't know how many. I don't know. But it's
a
less.
handful a good handful.
A good handful being required that are not recommended by the CDC. Does that make sense? Do you want should our government be requiring vaccines that are not recommended?
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And they shouldn't be requiring any vaccine that you as a parent do not want your child to have.
That's right.
All right. And then they shouldn't be limiting your child's education as a result of that. And you're paying those property taxes for a reason. 80% of your taxes go to public schools. So
in 1986, a law was passed under Ronald Reagan. A law was passed that gave all vaccine manufacturers exemption from any liability. They have no liability for the products that they create.
Right.
So when a vaccine injury occurs, it's paid for by tax dollars. It's paid for by VAERS, which is taxpayer-funded program. The reason for that law was because it was concluded that no vaccine can be created that is entirely 100% safe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've never gotten a flu vaccination. I didn't take the COVID vaccination. As a child, we had the polio vaccination we had to do. That was in the arm, and you got the little scab on your shoulder. But we didn't have all this. Right? It was a lot simpler. And you know what? We're all here today.
Well, we're here, and you and I, sitting here, have had less doses of vaccines in our lives than a 6-month-old baby gets today. A baby born today gets more shots than we've had in our entire life by the time they're 6 months old.
And a lot of times it happens where it's fatal.
That's right.
And so to put all these things into a child's body, it's pure, it came out of the mother, it's pure as fresh fallen snow. And to make them put things in that are alien, to them is it's not right.
The vaccine inserts, the insert on any medication that tells you what could happen. Here's the potential risks to taking a medication. Every vaccine insert includes death or permanent injury. Right. And I don't believe that any government should be forcing me to inject my children with something that could potentially cause death or injury.
So you've recently met me. We have some common friends, and I know. How do you think I'd be as a governor?
I would say fair and genuine and plugged in. Yeah, I would say.
Oh, that's nice. That's pretty much how I feel about and why I'm running it. When I speak in front of people and have conversations, I've been all over the state, probably 60,000 miles worth of travel in the state of Maine. Everyone says, I'm looking at you and I see someone who's being honest.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's very fair of you to be plugged into this issue that no one seems to want to talk about, the idea of the mandated vaccines, and it's unpopular. I often don't talk about it because it's not to be said, but I think it's encouraging that you're willing to say it and talk about it.
I like taking topics on that other people are willing to. I went to the Portland School District and sat down with all these people, pretty big crowd. There's one other Republican, but he didn't say much. But there's all the rest of the Democrats, and I was sitting in the middle, and they said, "So, what do you think? How do you think Portland and Portland schools benefit the state of Maine?" I said, "Oh." I think that you guys are the poster child for why we need school choice, right? And charter schools. And, you know, it's crickets. I said, you got 28% of your children, we have 28% rate of attrition in Portland. We spend $22,000 a year per child to educate the children. You're 143rd, I think it was, or 142nd in the state ranking. So as far as I'm concerned, that's failure. The idea that our schools used to be in the top 5, now we're at the bottom 5, makes me sick to my stomach.
And you know, there are some beautiful, talented teachers.
Yes.
This is not about the teachers, it's about the red tape. You know,
The mandates.
It's the mandates, it's things, it's
Teachers
all of
union.
things like that. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, because there are beautiful teachers, and I would like to see them be able to get to the business of teaching.
Right.
Without all of this distraction. But
they're being stopped.
For sure.
I've had several discussions with teachers that quit because they can't teach, and
That's right.
the stuff is being, you know, driven down their throat, and it's do or die, do or get fired, basically.
Yes.
You know, so I'll ask you a question. My motto is fight like hell, right? And you know, that's what I believe. We have to fight like hell to get us back to a common sense point. Well, you remember Charlie Kirk?
Of course.
Well, so I was with Charlie Kirk. I had dinner with him, and that day at the dinner, Charlie Kirk said, "Fight like hell, make Maine great again."
Oh, is that where you get your motto?
Well,
I think because we've arrived at a point where we have to fight like hell because we're in such a mess at this point.
Right.
Let's get back to a place where we're not all fighting like hell and we can live our lives.
Because if we don't fight like hell,
right,
we're not going to win, right? And people don't vote. And you know, a couple days after I had dinner with Charlie at the Black Point Inn, he called me and invited me out to Colorado. And I said, so what's that going to cost me? And he's like, nothing. You're coming as my guest. I said, all right. I said, why me? His words were, I think you're the real deal. All right. So I flew to Colorado. Believe me, I didn't take, you know, Charlie Kirk, great kid. He was a great kid. 31 years old, brilliant. I mean, we topped so many different subjects. I mean, I could throw anything at him, and he wasn't just superficial. It was deep dive kind of stuff. And you know, so I left Sunday after that. 3 days. We had 2 dinners, 2 nights, and each night at the dinner, he gave me a head table. I was sitting with people like John Solomon or Scott Jenkins, and he'd stop in the middle of his thing and say, "My buddy from Maine is here." Like, okay, what do you have in mind here? What are you doing? You know, this is a room full of, you know, very influential and wealthy people. You know, his largest fundraiser of the year. He did that 2 nights in a row. But then I came home, and you know, a week later he was dead. They assassinated him. So you know, you look at that, hearing that now, and you think, fight like hell. Right?
Well, listen, I have been fighting like hell. I want to be in a world where I don't have to fight like hell every day. I want to be in a better place where we're not all fighting like hell. But yes, right now I'm going to fight like hell.
All right, I like that one. It's so true. I mean, like, you know, I wish we didn't have to fight. You know, but I grew up in an era where it was peace and love was the motto, right?
Right.
But it's gotten out of hand, right? What we're doing now is just not the America I grew up in.
No.
And it was, you know, it's for me, you know, I've seen this. I've seen my kids grow up in it. Now my grandkids are growing up in it. And if we don't bring the fight to them, then we're going to lose, all right? And if we lose this election, then that means that's an endorsement of everything they've done. And the Maine that we know will no longer exist.
You know, I think better said is that I don't want my children to have to fight like hell.
Right.
I'll fight like hell now so my children won't have to.
God bless you. Right. Now you get it. Right?
Yeah.
I'm with you. Well, hey, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate it. And, you know, you know how to reach me. And if there's anything you have in mind that you want to talk about. I'm probably the most successful person you could ever ask for. I'm in the real estate business, so I know to answer my phone, and if I don't answer, I know to call you back. So I'm pretty prompt in that. And I appreciate your support, and you can just spread the word and tell your friends about me and what I want to do. Then we can win this. Fight like hell, and we'll win. Right?
Right.
Thank you so much.
Fight like hell so our children don't have to.